Hello everyone. In this video, we will take a look at a program from Native Instruments called Creator Tools. Now this is a program basically for instrument creators, instrument builders that are building all these beautiful Kontakt instruments. And this helps facilitate the instrument creation process by providing a number of different tools that can work together or one by one. They have relevance as well. I would like to go over this program and the functionality and the different tools and show some examples as we go. Just to mention that this is kind of geared towards people who already are familiar a little bit, at least, with building Kontakt instruments. So I will be going over and showing some things, but I will not be going in depth into like, hey, why am I scripting something or whatever. So the very first thing about Creator Tools is this program arrived when Kontakt 6 arrived. Now we're on Kontakt 6.22. And with Kontakt 6, when you purchase Kontakt 6, when you go on Native Access to grab it, you notice that automatically you're entitled also to download this program called Creator Tools. There are some beautiful onboarding slides which give a bit of an overview, but it can be a little confusing to kind of wrap your head around exactly what you can do with this thing as a builder. So first of all, I have Creator Tools and I have Kontakt open here. And as you notice in Creator Tools, I just launched it. I didn't open any project. I didn't do anything here. It's just open. So before we get into the other tools that you have on top that are actually providing functionality of their own, there are two tools here at the bottom, the KSP log and the KSP variable watcher. Now, as you know, as a Kontakt builder, there's no real debugger in Kontakt. So if you try to look for something, to message something in particular, all you have is this small messaging line over here. And you will always only see the last message, right? So if you do something like on init, and then, I don't know, a message, and then hello, and then end on, oops, and you apply that, here you just see this hello, right? And as you can already see, it'll also show in the KSP log over here on Creator Tools. But what happens if you want to do some other stuff, and then you want to message again world, right? So apply, and here I only see the last message, right? I will only see world. But in Creator Tools, you will see both the messages, a proper log, and you also see like which script line called the message and stuff like that. And you will also see, so for example, if I go here and I do, I don't know, message, or let's make spelling, we have a spelling mistake, right? I don't know, whatever, apply. And we also get the error where it happened. So this is similar to what you see here, but you get the full picture, right? So you get messages and errors and whatever is going on. You can also filter it over here to show just errors, just messages, or just variables. The variable watching is a little bit different. Maybe I show it in another video, but again, it's similar. It is showing basically watching stuff that is incoming, like messages from KSP. So before we get into the rest of the things, just to mention that this connection itself, you know how I was messaging here and we got the messages. This is established over here. Once you load Kontakt and load Creator Tools, you should see in Kontakt, if you go to the Export tab, this Creator Tools connected thing. This means they are connected and they can communicate basically. So let's go back and clear this KSP log and let's look at something else. I'm going to be closing this default instrument for now. Let's even go to one of the libraries. I have here some really sweet things. Let's open just this simple kinetic treats silo polyphones. Already you see that there are some warnings over here. Maybe it's fine. You know, this is not user-facing. Don't have to be user-facing. These are stuff that maybe the scripter is using. I have actually no idea what's going on. But the instrument is playing. Everything is working, and if you notice, other than what we see here in the KSP log, over here on the top in the instrument editor, something happened, right? Now we have something loaded here. We see the name of the instrument, and if we go here, we can see detailed information about the instrument. So the groups, how many groups, and we can go into each one of the groups and get really detailed information about the zones and everything that's going on in each zone. Basically, the entire, let's say, mapping editor of the instrument is represented here. Here, you can choose if you have multiple ones. So for example, I'm going to close this guy, and I don't know, kinetic metal. Maybe should have picked something that loads faster, or did I even load it? Oh, I did. Cool. So we have here, yeah, of course, I loaded it twice actually. So we have 2 kinetic metals, fine. And if we go here, we can choose which one we want to basically display here in the instrument editor and kind of control, as I will show you later. So this instrument editor tab, basically it's, let's say, passive. It just kind of prints out information about the instrument. But if you actually want to do something else, which is not view what the instrument is made of, what if you want to do the opposite thing? What if you want to populate the instrument? What if you want to populate the mapping? So this is also part of the job that Creator Tools can actually help you do. And it's one of the cooler things about this program. So let's close everything actually. And let's open a totally new NKI file. So this is an empty new file. Let's go to the zones and groups, and we can see, of course, that everything is empty. And let's go into the mapping editor, and there is nothing here. So, as if you're an advanced builder watching this, you, of course, are totally aware of the painstaking task it is to always kind of set up your mapping editor, right? Especially for huge instruments, always it requires some sort of automation. So with Creator Tools, this kind of functionality for populating the mapping editor is provided via the Lua Scripts tool. So basically it's over here. You can drag and drop scripts into here. But we can actually use some great examples from the factory content to kind of show how you do that, how you populate the instrument, the mapping editor with the Lua Scripts. So if you go into the factory, oh, maybe before that, to be able to get the factory content, once you install Creator Tools, if you go to Help, Copy Factory Content, it'll make a copy of the factory content in a folder which you can edit. So it'll just give you an editable copy of the content, and then you can open it here. There are 2 subfolders. One of them is for examples for the GUI designer, which we'll see later, and then some examples for the instrument editor, which are basically examples for the Lua script over here. So if we go into some of these Lua script subfolders, and let's go to tutorials, and let's actually already go to tutorial 7. There are a number of cool things here. It gets progressively more advanced. You know what, maybe let's take the first one, just to show that if you double click it, now it's ready to be played, let's say, ready to be run. But also you can click over here, and this will open it in your text editor set for Lua files. In my case, it is Sublime. I recommend you use it as well. And here, actually, all these tutorials, as you can see, there is a lot of text explaining what they do and a lot of comments, and it's actually very, 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 very easy to follow along and to pick it up. Lua is actually a very, very simple language, and especially the way it is used here, it is really simple to pick up. Basically, you're just looping over things. Let's get deeper into it with another example. So I actually want to show this one. So tutorial 7, populate zones from file system. So let's load this guy up. And if we open it, we can see. So while we used the file system functions in previous tutorials, in this one, we go through explicit example of populating groups with zones, a group with zones with files found in the file system. So of course, this is just an example. And for anything that you would like to do, you can take, let's say, stuff from here, understand how it's been done, copy, paste, and manipulate it for your example. But what we will be doing here is we will be, first of all, looking for a connection to an instrument, which means that we have to have at least an instrument, an NKI, an empty one, or whatever, loaded here. If there is an instance of an instrument, all good, we continue. If not, then the script cannot be run. Then we tell the instrument to reset all the groups, which means delete everything, start from a brand new instrument if you have stuff already in there. We're giving it a path. In this path we have lots of samples. And then we are kind of looking into that path with a function that basically takes every single wave or AIF, basically every audio file that it finds in that path and in the subfolders, and creates a table. So basically you have a list of files and they are indexed. So if it finds 10 files, so the first file would be 0 and then the path. And then we kind of use all these files to query the instrument and declare a new zone for each sample that we found. Add that zone. Make sure that we do something with the root key and the low key and the high key, and then place the file in the zone. And we loop through all the samples that we found. So basically through the table that we declared over here. So the root node, if you notice what's going on here, basically we will be placing the first sample that we found on a root key of 0 with a range of low range and a high range, the same as the root. So basically every single sample will be mapped to a single node. So let's see it in practice. Let's try it. Hopefully it works, you know, who knows, maybe it doesn't even work. So again, you know what, let's try, let's close this. If I don't have an NKI, I try to play it, I get this error message, right? Attempt to index a nil value instrument. There is no instrument, and it even tells you what you need to do, so it's not focused on a Kontakt instrument. So again, we open a new one. Now we are focused on an instrument. We can play this file, and it told us, okay, the samples were located, ready. So it ran the script, and now it says it's ready. Now if you look up here, once we ran this, there are two arrows, right? Once we ran the script, this little guy over here has a little flag on top of it. This means that something changed, and it is ready to be pushed to Kontakt. This means, okay, so it ran the script, it prepared something for us, but it didn't do it yet. If we go in Kontakt, nothing happened yet. Once we click push, we look in Kontakt, and wow, check this out. Our mapping editor has been filled exactly as we wanted it. So we have a complete set of drums mapped to our entire keyboard. And this was a cinch, right? So you maybe spend some time creating your script, but you can be clever about it and make it so it's highly reusable and really, really, really saves you time, right? Let's maybe look at one more, because there is another interesting example. So this was tutorial 7. Let's again remember, we start with an empty instrument in our case. It doesn't have to be an empty instrument. You can manipulate an existing one, of course. Let's go back to Creator Tools, and let's go to this guy over here. So this is tutorial 8, MIR type tagging. So in this tutorial, in tutorial 7, we basically just went to the file system, looked at every single file that we found, and then just recursively write just a list. We went through everything, and we, one by one, you found one, okay, set it to a root note, high note, low note, go to the next one, right? Here, I would like to show that you can also do much more clever things. So for example, what if you have a list of samples, some sort of list, 100 samples. They're all called sound 1, sound 2, sound 3, just totally, let's say, indistinct names to the samples. With music information retrieval, which functionality which is provided here, basically what you can do is retrieve information about this sample. So for example, what pitch they're in, is it a drum, is it an instrument, what type of drum is it, what type of instrument is it. So for example, is it a drum? Okay, it is a drum. Is it a kick drum? Is it a snare? Is it a tom? Is it a cymbal? Etc., etc., etc. And this allows you to basically kind of set your instrument according to whatever kind of, let's say, information retrieval logic you set up. I don't want to go specifically into everything in this tutorial, but I mean, it's really kind of, everything has comments and you can really kind of follow step by step what's going on here. But let's just show the results. So if I go back to Creator Tools here, let's just clear this Lua thing. Okay, so we have the MIR type tagging tutorial loaded, and we have an empty instrument, just making sure. Cool. Press play. This one, you see, it takes a little bit. It's working, it's saying. And we also have a lot printed here to the console. So again, maybe it's worth to mention, of course, you can do all this stuff that it's doing here as like print to the console and kind of give yourself information, basically. So what do we have here? 39 samples detected. It's saying the first one is an instrument, the second one is an instrument. Then we have something that says it's invalid. But if you look, text file converted to wave. So this is actually trying to trip it up. And we see that it correctly identified, no, guys, this isn't a wave file, right? And then we go down, we see that sound 31 is a drum, and some more drums, and then some more drums and more instruments, and another invalid here, test empty wave. Yeah, can't detect it, it's not a drum, it's not an instrument. And then, so this is one list, this is all the samples, and then we have a table, so all the drums, so 30 drums detected. And then we go on to say which kind of drums. So close that. A tom here, cymbal, snare, some more toms, claps, kicks. And then 7 instruments detected. And then we can see that there was a keyboard here, bowed strings. We have a synth sound detected, a reed, a synth, a mallet. And we list the 2 invalid ones that we found. And then we can see, okay, we are creating zones from all these guys. But we're doing it in a clever way. We're taking all the instruments that we found and doing one thing with them, and all the drums that we found and doing another thing with them. So, sound 38, a keyboard added as an instrument with a key range from 36 to 47. So every instrument basically gets its own octave, as you can see. And then every single drum gets its own single note. But not only that, all the kick drums are grouped together, all the snares are grouped together, all the toms, etc., etc. So it finished doing all this, and now it's saying push to contact. So let's try it. We push, have a look at our mapping editor, and again, beautifully set everything up. So we have the first half of our keyboard, we have drums, and then we have 1 octave each of whatever we had there, a piano, a synth, a mallet, etc., etc., etc. So really, as you can see, just these 2 examples already kind of, I would say, should ignite the imagination and to the sort of stuff that you can do. It doesn't always have to be funky stuff with MIR and everything. It can just be using a script to like really facilitate basically mapping, 90,000 zones or some crazy amount that modern instruments do have, right? So again, you can really take pieces from the example. So just copy paste whatever you need. It's really kind of simple, and let's say it's really the same thing over and over, basically. So if you understand one of the examples, you could pretty much understand how to do your thing, I think. And there's a lot more here. Other than the full-on tutorials, there are also a few examples here. So basically just like the very basic function, so duplicate group, and you have basically just play around with it. You can run the scripts and immediately understand how it works. One more thing about this Lua, the Lua script, is there is a repository that you can find on GitHub. If you write contact-public on GitHub, and you go to Creator Tools functions over here, there are additional functions available. It's kind of like a community project where you get like much more. Let's say we use the basic Lua functionality provided in Creator Tools, but kind of wrap much more robust functions around it. So for example, the groups create function, basically you can with like basically all the looping and everything is done inside for you, and you basically just decide on the arguments. So group create, how many number of groups, where do you want to insert them, do you want to give them a name, maybe an incremental count. Basically you can go through all the functions and see what they do, and it's very easy to include them in your own scripts. Basically you just place the CT groups, for example, Lua file in the same folder where your script is running, and then just call this by having this line in your script. It's all written actually in every single one of them, so it's really easy to use, and recommended that you have a look at this as well. So in this video we looked at basically the program itself. We had a look at what is this instrument editor, what is this KSP log, and the Lua scripts. The variable watching is basically I don't want to get into that, but basically you can have a variable in KSP. So for example, on init and on, and then you declare some variable, and then you can watch the changes to the variable as they occur here. So if you have a knob there and you kind of twist the knob, you will see in real time the values for the knob changing. You don't need to basically message each time. So I think in this video it's maybe enough, and in the next video we will go into the GUI designer a little bit and show you how basically a Creator Tools project is managed.